Okay, pastors, I'm going to bring you through this sketch video to help you to think through the keys to breakthrough if you're trying to create a discipleship culture at your church. I know a lot of guys, they're starting to use these tools at pursuegod.org. It's exciting to see, but for a lot of pastors, they're saying, I don't really know where to start. And so I think this sketch is a great way to think about it. If you want to see the original sketch of this, I'll make sure to put a link to that right here. But the goal is basically this. You're trying to break through this first barrier, which is sort of the talk barrier, getting someone ready to talk to you. That should be easy. I'll show you how in a second. And then the second barrier you want to break someone through is to get them ready to mentor. Okay, and so what we want to talk about is, who are you going to invite as a pastor if you're really trying to roll this out in your church? Who are you going to invite so that you can mentor those people, and then eventually you're going to coach those people? Okay, so here's who I think you should invite. I think you should look for 3 people, make a list of 3 people. If you're able to, maybe you make that 5 people. If you really are spiritual, you can make that 12 people. But make a list of 3 people that are truth to Christians. So that means that they love Jesus, they're honoring God in their life. So this is what I would call the low-hanging fruit, right? These are people who are ready to go. Don't key off of seekers at first. You'll get to that. Right now, you're talking about, who do I roll this out to? Who do I invite first and foremost? You invite a handful of truth to Christians who are, I'll go ahead and use this term, who are fat, who are faithful, available, and teachable. Don't look for the most spiritual people in your church, because guess what? They might not be very teachable. They might think of disciple making as leading a Bible study, and they're going to be really hard to work with. So pray about it. Make a list of 3 to 12 people that are faithful, available, and teachable, and then invite them into a mentoring relationship with you. Now, the first couple topics, just make really interesting topics to them. Pick something that they would be engaged in. Make sure that you use the flex method. Don't, try to model it some other way. Remember, from the very beginning, you've got to be thinking, I'm modeling for them what we mean by mentoring, topic at a time mentoring. So make sure, this is really important, make sure to send them a topic, right? Let them learn about it on their own. So pick something interesting and then do the method with them, right? You're trying to model it from the very beginning. And then what I would recommend is the third topic that you cover is you cover mentor training, right? So now say, okay, guys, I want to bring you through the mentor training series because you guys are going to be the catalysts for the discipleship culture in our church. Be clear about it from the very beginning that that's what you're doing. Now, once you've brought them through mentor training, they're ready to break through that second barrier, and now they're ready to mentor. And guess what? You just put them in the pipeline for your church. We talk about that in another video, but the pipeline means these are people who are ready to go. They're ready to mentor. And what you do with those people is you do something that we call the handoff, right? So now that you've got a pipeline ready to go, now you want to think about the people in your church who need to be mentored, right? So all of your events, everything that you do in your church is all about connecting people who need a mentor with people who are ready to mentor. Well, now you've got up to 12 people in your pipeline. And so what you're doing now is you're bringing those people, once you hand them off, in essence, you're helping them invite someone into a conversation. And so now you've got these people from your pipeline in these mentoring relationships with people in your church who need it. You might want to think about making a list of ways to create handoffs, Talk about mentoring from the stage. Talk about it in your sermon. Put up signs in the lobby. Let people know. Once you have people ready to go, let people know that we're here to help people pursue God. And one of the best ways to do that is by finding a mentor. What I like to do in my church is after the service, when people come forward for prayer, I always pray for them. And then I try to connect them to a mentor. But guess what? People can't do that if you don't have a pipeline of mentors, if it's not organized and you don't know who's ready to mentor. You got to have men for men. You've got to have women for women, couples for couples, students for students, right? So young adults, college age students for young adults, right? So make sure that your pipeline is diverse. Make sure that those initial people that you invite, think about it from a diversity standpoint. Make it as diverse as possible. Train up that first wave of mentors. Get them in your pipeline. Notice this should have only taken 5 or 6 weeks, right? And now they're ready to mentor. But here's the last thing I want to say. You need to make sure that you're coaching them. Be ready to coach them. You don't just hand them off and forget about them. You've got to follow up with them. Phone calls, texts. Hey, how's it going? I handed you off 3 weeks ago. How's that relationship going? Make sure that you are doing this follow-up coaching, right? That's what this is all about. It's about follow-up. Pastors, this is one of the most important things you can do. Once you've trained people to mentor, then probably the next most important thing you can do in your week is follow up with those handoffs that you've already made. And here's the key. If you can do this, then you are going to get your church moving forward from inviting to mentoring to coaching. And pretty soon you won't be the only coach, because the way you did it will be a model for those initial people that you started with and everyone else. Eventually, everyone can be a mentor, and eventually, everyone can be a coach. So think about it, talk about it, develop this a little bit more, and then start implementing this in your church.